All right, so we're just reviewing today the cosine of x minus 1. So as I normally do, I'm going to write my A, B, C, D. A is 1, B is 1, C is 0, and D is -1. How do we know this? Because remember, it's A cosine bx minus c plus d. A is in front, and if there's no number there, that's going to be invisible 1. 1 times cosine is still cosine. The b is in front of the x, that's invisible 1 again. No parentheses, no c. In this case, I write the cosine in parentheses, but that doesn't give me a c. And d value is -1. And we graph from right to left. So we know our d value is going to take us to -1 right here. That is our d value. On your notes, you should do little tick marks. My c value is 0. That means we're going to start off right here at 0. My b value is my frequency. So I see this once in 2 pi. So starting and stopping, you should see the graph happen something like that in 2 pi. But of course, we want to make this look nice. So we do half, half, and half from 2 pi. If you're not sure, b is equal to 1, and our p is 2 pi over the letter b, which is 2 pi over 1. So p is equal to 2 pi. It means the graph starts and stops by 2 pi. Now, as I did half and half, half and half, that helps me balance out my equation nicely. A value is 1. So that means from the d value, we go up 1 and we go down 1. Up 1 and down 1. So we have an amplitude of 1 up, an amplitude of 1 down. Now we're graphing cosine. Remember the difference between cosine and sine? From the starting value, sine starts at 0, while cosine starts at 1. And that's super important for us to remember. If you go back to the unit circle, and you'll use the unit circle a lot in calculus. We were just doing this in calculus the other day. Actually, just today. If I look at the point at 0 degrees, it's going to be 1, 0, my cosine and my sine. 0, 1, my cosine and my sine. So the sine of 0 is, whoops, my bad. I flipped it around. Cosine is your x value, and sine is your y value. Cosine would be 1, my sine would be 0. Cosine would be 1, meaning we start at 1. Sine would be 0, meaning we start at 0. Okay, since this is a cosine graph, we're going to start at 1, up, 0, down, 0, up. And we're going to try to squeeze our graph like this. Now, the problem with IXL is there is no easy way for them to create a graphing utility for us. Why is the graph up by 1 if it's -1? Oh, my bad. I misread it. D is -1. Thank you for reminding me. So this graph is actually shifted down. Oh, my goodness. So let's actually go ahead and pretend we didn't record that, but we did. So we're going to look at this graph. This is a cosine graph for us. And we're going to move the graph. I'm going to trap the middle and move it down to -1. So the way we move it up and down is we move the middle dot. See this, the middle dot here? And move it up and down. I'll move the middle of the dot over here to -1. My amplitude is up 1, down 1. And my period ends at 2 pi. That's it. So this basic graph actually graphed itself. We just did more work than we needed to. That's fine. Okay, now this graph, take a look at it. We have a C value now. And again, I like writing A, B, C, D. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 1, C is equal to, careful, -pi, and D is equal to 0. So graphing D is 0, or right in the middle. C is not where we start, but it helps us find where we start. C over B, which is -pi over 1. That's my 1 here. So we start at -pi. Lucky for us, that's this point right here. Our B value says, hey, this is 1. That means I see it once in 2 pi. Or 2 pi over B, which is 2 pi over 1, 2 pi is my period. So if I start at negative pi, careful, if I start at negative pi and I add 2 pi to it, this takes me to pi. So I stop here. So thinking of the graph looks something like that. I need to start and finish one period from negative pi to pi. That would be a period of 2 pi. Half, half, and half, 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 and half. So we did D, we did C, we did B. That's where we start and stop. We just need A. The amplitude is 1. Up 1, down 1. So now we ask ourselves, do we start in the middle or on top because this is a cosine? On middle or on top? Since this is cosine, we start at top. Up, first tick mark to the middle, next tick mark all the way down, and we walk our waves back up at the tick marks. Up, 0, down, 0. As we continue the tick marks, that helps us space out the graph. So being able to graph this without IXL is great. By hand is the most important part. Now we have to adjust so we can graph this on IXL. So I'm gonna use a cosine graph. This is a cosine graph. We say we start at 0. That's good. We're starting at 0. But we have to shift our graph back. So I'm gonna move the graph back over here to pi over 2. I write pi over 2 is because we really want the graph to start off at negative pi. And look here, the graph is starting off at negative pi. I wonder if I could move that starting point. Oh, you could have done that. Let's restart. If I take the 1, move it back over here, and I take the third dot and I move it to the middle. Yeah, that looks all right. Sorry, they're taking out the trash right now. They're taking Mr. Co out. Ooh. So let's gotta play with it for a little bit. We want our graph to there we go. Start and stop at pi. Right. Next level. Oh no, they have us. You're gonna mix it up, eh? You're gonna mix it up. So A, B, C, D. Well, we're around 40 already. A is 1, B is 1, C is negative pi, and D is positive 1. So our D is 1, up 1. Our C is negative pi. So X equals to negative pi over C, which is 1, right? So that's going to be negative pi. We're going to start someplace over here. That mark is just for you guys. Please don't make that mark on the actual graph. Maybe you can do a dotted mark. Okay, we did D, we did C. Now we got to figure out when this graph ends. Is it going to be way over here or going to be a little shorter? So P is equal to 2 pi over the letter B, which is 2 pi over 1, which is 2 pi. So if I start again at negative pi and I end 2 pi later, we end at pi. No worries, Osvaldo. So if I start at negative pi, we say we're going to stop over here somehow. And then we did D, C, B. We just need A. A, the amplitude is up 1, down 1. So we know we're going to be up here, down here. The next thing I got to say is that we also now need the period. The period is going to, we have a period of 2 pi, and we have to say this is a cosine graph. So cosine starts on top. Oh, I forgot to do the tick marks. Half, half, and half. What's wrong with me? Half, half, and half. Up, 0, down, 0, up. The cosine graph always starts at the amplitude. let's go ahead and try graphing this. So we said for this graph, this is a cosine graph, is going to be at positive 1. I'm going to move the whole graph up by 1. Then I have to move the graph all the way back by pi. Careful. So that we want to start the graph at the amplitude here at pi, negative pi. The graph starts and ends. Oops. Graph starts and ends at the right place for us. This is it, done. All right, this one looks a little more tough. I see a fraction. Ooh, fraction. Okay, I'm not gonna think about it. Just A is 1, B is 1, C, careful, is negative pi over 3, and D is equal to negative 1. We just follow these rules. Graph D first. That's our vertical shift. C helps me find my horizontal shift, my phase shift. X equals to negative pi over 3 over B. Remember, this is X is equal to C over B if you don't remember it yet. That's going to be negative pi over 3. So we know we're going to start the graph over here at negative pi over 3. This graph is, where's negative pi over 3? I gotta find it. Negative pi over 3 is right here-ish. Okay?
Mister,
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt, but I'm still like having that same problem that I was telling you about. That the problems don't want to load and stuff.
Try using Explorer or something else. Are you able to log in? Does it actually say your name in the upper right-hand corner?
Yeah, it does. And I'm using Google. I'm using the Chromebook from school.
Oh, you can't use Firefox, can you?
No, I
Okay,
only have Google Chrome.
let me add. Okay, um, and then our graph is, so we're starting at negative pi over 3, and then our period here, 2 pi over b, which is 1, that's our period. That's going to give us 2 pi. And then we have to say, okay, if I'm starting over here and I go to pi, negative pi over 3 plus 2 pi, we need to get a common denominator, negative pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3, 5 pi over 3. So 5 pi over 3 is almost close to 2 pi, so we're kind of over here. So the graph starts and stops. Is a sine graph? Something like that. So we're going to go ahead and graph some points here. Half, half, and half. That's our b value. And then our a value is 1. Up, 1, down, 1. Up, 1, down, 1. So sine is 0, up, 0, down, 0. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the graph itself. Let's see if I can get the sine graph to be moved over enough to become negative pi over 3 would be something like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So I think this here would be 2 pi over 3. Okay. And then we're going to graph all the way up to sine is, we said we're going to stop at 5 pi over 6. And move that a little bit over somewhere. Nope, that's too big. 5 pi over 6 is 5 pi over 6 is really close to the end. Nope, that was too much. Whoops, we got moved over too. No,
Mister, are we gonna have a test anytime soon?
we are going to have a test, yes, coming up.
When?
We're going to have a test in this next week before Thanksgiving break.
You're killing me, Mr. Co.
No, not really. Okay, let's see if this works. I think it might give me an error. And it was off because I didn't do -1. Oh my goodness. Gosh. I didn't graph the -1. Right?
So now you understand our frustration.
I know. It's okay. Let's go ahead and keep on moving. So this one is going to be, let me go ahead and pull up a cheat sheet on the right. I can do some notes on the right side. So I don't have to copy the whole thing refresh. Okay, I'm gonna take some notes. First is A is equal to 2, B is equal to 1, C is equal to -pi, and D equals to 2. So this is graphing D. Let's go ahead and move this graph. This is a sine graph. And we're gonna move it up to +2. All right, our C value is where I start. X equals to -pi over 1, C over B. That's just -pi. So move the graph back to -pi over here. Okay. Now I need to make sure my period is right. The period is 2 pi over b, which is 2 pi over 1, which is 2 pi. That means I have to start and stop the graph in 2 pi. If I start at -pi and I add 2 pi, that's my period. We end at pi. So I started and stopped here. It looks like it. Looks like I stopped here, right? At pi. It looks all right. No. Started and stopped at pi. And the last part we need to do is change our amplitude. Amplitude is 2, so it has to be 2 up. So not there, but up here. All right, let's double check to make sure we got this. We start at -pi to pi. Yep. Submit. Great job, thank you. Okay, this problem looks a little terrible. I think we just did this wrong. Our D value was A is 4, B is 1, C is pi over 3, -pi over 3, I'm sorry about that. D is -1. So start graphing the graph as a cosine. Move the center dot to -1 because I'm moving it down by 1. Our C value helps me find my start. So it would be Cx is equal to C over B, which is -pi over 3, over 1, which is -pi over 3. So we're going to move the graph back a couple of spaces. This is a cosine graph. So if you notice, I am starting the graph at right here, -1/3. My cosine goes up, down, up. Now we have one more thing to change, and that is my amplitude. And I need 4. So I move this up 4 spaces from -1 would be +3. Nazareth, can you email me? Sir, you message me a phone number that the tech support people can call you right now? Okay, so let's double check this. This looks like, I'm gonna screenshot this. Let's make sure we have everything that's correct. First, my D value is -1. Here's -1. We're good. That looks like the center of the graph. My starting value is pi over 3, -pi over 3, which is right here. My B value is 2 pi. So we start and we stop 2 pi away. That's going to be 2 pi. And we are going to do the amplitude of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And down 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, we got this graph. It better work. Submit. All right. Gosh. Okay, this one looks a little more cherished, I guess. So A equals to -3, B equals to -2, C is equal to -1. No, whoops, my bad. C is 0, and D is equal to -3. Okay. Now we mentioned before about these cosines is that the cosine graphs, you could have them go backwards, but really cosine doesn't care. So -3 cosine of -2x minus 3 is the same as -3 cosine of 2x minus 3. And that's just an identity that we'll talk about. So besides that, let's go ahead and just graph it. D is -3. So let's go ahead and move the graph to -3. This is a cosine graph, so let's move that to -3. I'll move it down to -3. My C value is 0, so I'm going to start right at 0. But the period is 2. So the frequency is 2. So these graphs are going to be super small, be half the size. Let's see, I need to squeeze them just enough so that they start and stop in pi. Because p is equal to 2 pi over b, which is pi. Now, I'm going to have to move this a little skinnier and then move this graph around. Darn it. It's all about playing with these graphs. What? Okay, we need to stop and start by pi, so this is still a little too wide. Ah! Stupid graph. Killing me. Oh my goodness. So this is a cosine graph. So move this over. There we go. And my amplitude is -3. So instead of starting on top, we're going to start at the bottom, 3 spaces down. Oh my goodness. Okay, and -3. Move this 3 spaces down. What's 3 spaces down from -3? -6. This flips it upside down. Now let's go ahead and double check this. I'm going to zoom in. Make sure we have everything. Our D value we said was -3. Yes, that is -3. Our period is P is equal to 2 pi over 2. -2 is going to be the same for us. It's going to be pi. So we start at pi, we end at pi. That looks good so far. Our A value is -3. So instead of going up by 3, we're going to flip it over and go by down by 3. We're still going 3 spaces up and 3 spaces down. But since it's a negative, it flips our graph upside down. Just like a parabola, negative x squared is a parabola facing down. All right, we're good. That looks good to me. Well done. Okay, so those are some of the examples that you guys are expected to be able to do. Oh, let's do this one too. Darn it, so good. A is equal to 1/2. B is equal to -1/2 because it's x over 2, which is same as 1/2 x. And don't forget the negative sign. C is 0 and D is 3. Okay, so to graph this, our D is 3. This is cosine. Let's pick out cosine. Remove the center dot down to, up to +3. Right? And then we're going to say the period is 2 pi over 1/2, which you multiply by the reciprocal, it's 2 pi times 2 over 1 equals to 4 pi. So it takes me 4 pi to see this graph. That means it's going to take me forever to see this graph. So I want to see half the graph. If you look here, I see half the graph by the time I get to 2 pi. And then we're going to say my A value is 1/2. I'm going to shrink this to 1/2. That's 1/2. Right. So it takes a lot of work. Go ahead and practice these problems again. You won't get good till you just practice them yourselves. Okay?